And Henry Martin, as usual, is active as a theorist, an author, composer. You probably know he some years ago won the Barlow Prize, which is a major international prize. And I always say, anybody who can teach theory and everybody loves it, you know he must be doing something special and something right. So here's Henry Martin.
Well, thank you, Louis, and thank you for inviting me to do a little talk about what's happening. Yeah, we'll see how the tech goes, but hopefully you'll see my computer screen and kind of the things that I'm doing here, and can hopefully get this to work the way I'm hoping it will. Yeah, the way I'm going to talk about this, you got a little almost PowerPoint kind of thing happening here, and a little display of some multimedia here. Is I'm going to talk about some ongoing theory and jazz projects, and then move to some composition things that I'm doing. And again, I know we don't want to stay long, so I did bring some music to play, but I'm not sure whether we'll go in that direction or what the story should be.
Let's hear a little bit.
Well, again, it's always so complicated because you never know what to do, how much to do, you know, all that kind of stuff. So my ongoing projects, first of all, as you all know, I have a book on Charlie Parker that was published in the mid-90s, edited by Louis Porter. And that book obviously sparked my interest in Charlie Parker, the material that led to that book. And so I've maintained that interest in Parker ever since, and I don't think anybody here ever took my Parker class. Okay.
Oh, there you go. I did. Oh, really? Okay.
Okay, gee. Oh, yeah, of course. Ben and Trevor last semester. Okay. Duh.
My mind is going to.
Yeah, I know. It's terrible. But one of the projects that I'm working on is something that keeps getting smaller and smaller. I'm interested in Charlie Parker's early style because my book actually deals with more mature Charlie Parker. So I was interested in looking at some of the early stuff. And as some of you, I'm sure, probably know, Charlie Parker's first recording is this solo alto saxophone thing in which he plays Honeysuckle Rose in Body and Soul. It was an amateur recording, probably done in 1940. And so I started working on that and was expecting to do some work with that and some other comparative studies. And what actually happened is the project keeps shrinking because I get so much material on just Honeysuckle Rose. And so right now the article presentation is just on Charlie Parker's whole relationship to Honeysuckle Rose, beginning with what happens in that recording, and then actually looks at his second Honeysuckle Rose recording, which was with the McShann Band a few months later. And then the interesting kind of, if you will, the hook of the article is the fact that even though Honeysuckle Rose is obviously one of the important swing tunes for improvisation, changes and all that, Parker pretty much ignores it for the rest of his career. There are no other extant recordings of him playing Honeysuckle Rose. And later in his Savoy recording career, he actually ends up doing a couple of contrafacts on it, Marmaduke, et cetera, et cetera. So, and that's it. And it's like this whole important swing tune is something that Parker very much minimized compared to his interest in I Got Rhythm, in which he wrote, you know, lots of contrafacts. And so in a sense, what this article presentation does is completely summarize and look at Parker's whole relationship to Honeysuckle Rose. So, that's one thing that I'm doing. The other is that recently I published, well, first of all, backtracking a little bit, the Annual Review of Jazz Studies, some of you may not know, has now become the Journal of Jazz Studies. And it's an online publication, totally free, available through the Rutgers University libraries. And I've continued to be an editor of that journal, and you can see, obviously, the web address for that. And in the first online issue, I have a long book review on Steve Larson's book on Schenkerian analysis. And so that's sort of goes along, that book review kind of goes along with, in 2010, I was the keynote speaker for the annual meeting of the Dutch-Flemish Society for Music Theory in Amsterdam. And the talk that I gave there, which is on Schenker and the tonal jazz repertory, was just published in the Dutch Journal of Music Theory. And these two projects, the Larson Book Review and the Amsterdam meeting, are kind of intertwined insofar as I'm continuing my interest in Schenker and looking at his relationship to jazz. And so, relative to that, what I'm doing for a current ongoing project is an extension of the Schenker and Jazz tonal jazz repertory article to looking specifically at Parker and Coltrane tunes that maintain certain kinds of conventional forms and tonality, but again, getting into Schenkerian kinds of thinking, feature interesting structural lines. And part of what I've done to put this together is I've worked with our graduate, Tad Turner, who sometime I think graduated in the mid-2000s, who's now a doctoral student at City University. He helped me put together a database, which you can see an entry here for, in which what I'm doing is kind of amassing an interest in jazz tunes, both Parker tunes and other tunes that are relevant to my study of these Schenker kinds of takeoffs on jazz forms. And what's kind of nice about the database is, for example, here's the database entry for Hootie Blues. And so one of the things that I've done for Hootie Blues is I've actually transcribed not only Parker's original solo on the McShann recording, but he also plays it one other time in a live air check. So what I can do is just click this, and it goes immediately to my PDF file of the two recordings. Here are the two solos that Parker plays on Hootie Blues. And as you can see, just by scanning this, what he plays is very similar on both of the recordings. You can see there, measure 7, he plays that same da-ba-dee-da-dum, ba-dee-da-dum, this blues lick that he does in each of these forms. Similarly, using the database, I can go down here and click, and this is all linked up, and get, here's the original Parker from the Decca recording he does with McShann. And then I also have linked, as you can see, I can go to the live Parker recording of Hootie Blues at the Savoy Ballroom.
And now we call on Walter Brown with a little blues number titled Hootie Blues. It's also just as they recorded it for you. Hootie Blues.
And so here's the other live, the only other extant version of Parker playing Hootie Blues, etc. And so what I'm doing with this database is developing this sort of theory that takes my Schenker and tonal jazz article from the Dutch Journal of Music Theory and kind of brings it up to the next level. So, and again, working with one of our esteemed alumni in trying to put the database together. Other articles that I'm working on, some of you have heard, because I've talked about it for about 5 or 6 years now, an article that I've been writing on the tonic added 6th chord that I gave as a paper in 2003. I've been trying to get that revised properly for publication, and hopefully that will in fact happen. So that's an important article that I want to eventually finish. Some of you know about my jazz history text that I've written with Keith Waters. The nice news there is that it's been quite successful. So it's in my we just published the 3rd edition. I have a copy of it here if nobody's seen it. And we expanded the 2 CD set to 3 historical CDs. And we're actually now working on the 3rd edition of the abridged set. And all of this stuff is filtering into these back burner projects like the Parker stuff. I'm looking to the possibility of doing a book on Parker as a composer, a more general book on the jazz repertory, a book on jazz harmony, and then another article that I have written that I need to revise is trying to make sense of the tritone substitution, augmented 6 chords, and Neapolitans, which is always the, what I call kind of the Bermuda Triangle of jazz harmony. Causes so many problems. Another project that you might want to be aware of is the fact that Kent Williams, who teaches at the University of North Carolina, Greensboro, and I have put together a database of jazz music theory, which is online and searchable. We're continually updating this and improving it, and you can actually go there and just search, put in John Coltrane, for example, and come up with relevant articles. We're always expanding it. It's not as large as we'd like to have it, and it has very few pedagogical materials in it, but it's mostly scholarly articles. So these are kind of the main theory projects that I'm working on. The other side of my life, as you all know, is as composer. And there, my recent work is largely connected to piano and organ performance. A lot of my recent pieces and compositions, et cetera, and in 2010, I just had a CD released of selected piano music. The pianist Hilary Dembski is the player, brilliant player. She teaches now at, I think, North Utah University. It's a university in Utah, but it's not the University of Utah, and it's not Brigham Young, and I can't remember. Utah Valley, I think Utah Valley University. And she's a wonderful pianist, and she's actually not only done this CD, but she's played my music not only throughout the country, but she took it on tour in China, Taiwan, and Mongolia. Wow. So I've had my pieces played in Mongolia. Pop Idol in Mongolia. Some of you are also aware of my, my ongoing organ commission. One of the pieces that are large-scale sets of pieces that I'm particularly well known for as a composer is a prelude and fugue cycle for piano. What I mean by a cycle is it's a prelude and fugue in each of the 24 keys, major and minor keys, basically duplicating formally what Bach does in the Well-Tempered Clavier. And that piece has been, or set of pieces has been fairly significant for me. And it led to, in 2008, Michael Barone, who has a very well-known concert organ music program known as Pipe Dreams that appears on a lot of national public radio stations around the country. He contacted me in 2008 and basically said, have you written for organ? And I said, well, not really. And he commissioned a prelude and fugue for organ for the 25th anniversary of the show Pipe Dreams. And the result was that he liked the piece quite a bit, commissioned another one. He liked that one too. And then he said, well, let's do a whole cycle. So I'm in the midst of composing 24 organ preludes and fugues. And as of about a week ago, I'm half finished. They've been premiered throughout North America. Basically, a group of different organists are performing them. Currently, a woman, Isabelle Demers, who's a brilliant organist from Montreal, has been doing some of the performances. And the first half of the cycle is about a CD's worth of material. So we're thinking, Michael and I are now thinking of trying to push this through to a CD performance.